Late night glow on silent screens. Another story in between. Coffee cold, fingers fly beneath a vast, watchful sky.
Good evening, this is Lydia Dela Cruz reporting. Our top story tonight. Escalating tensions in the South China Sea have once and again placed Filipino lives at risk. 3 Filipino fishermen were injured after the China Coast Guard fired powerful water cannons and cut the anchor lines of their vessel near a disputed shoal. The incident, which occurred in waters long claimed by both Manila and Beijing, highlights the dangerous reality faced daily by local fishers who depend on these seas for their livelihood. According to initial reports, the fishermen were forced to abandon their catch and retreat to safety after their boat was destabilized by the blasts. Maritime experts warn that such aggressive tactics not only threaten lives, but also undermine regional stability. The shoal, located within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, has been a flashpoint for years, with repeated confrontations between Chinese and Filipino vessels. For the fishermen, however, this is not just a geopolitical dispute, it is a matter of survival. Many communities along the western coast rely almost entirely on fishing to sustain their families. Each confrontation means lost income, damaged boats, and mounting fear. One fisherman described the encounter as like being attacked at sea with nowhere to run. The Philippine Coast Guard has condemned the incident, calling it a violation of international law. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea officials say they are preparing a formal diplomatic protest while urging China to respect the rights of Filipino fishers. Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Affairs is coordinating with allies to ensure that the issue is raised in international forums. Analysts note that this latest clash comes amid broader tensions in the Indo-Pacific, where freedom of navigation, territorial sovereignty remain hotly contested. The United States and other regional partners have previously expressed support for the Philippines, conducting joint patrols and calling for restraint. Yet with each new incident, the risk of escalation grows for the men and women who sail these waters. The South China Sea is more than a map of disputed lines. It is their home, their livelihood, and their future. Tonight, their injuries serve as a stark reminder of the human cost behind the headlines. Our next story takes us to Mandaluyong City, where a devastating fire has left thousands reeling. A blaze erupted in Barangay Pleasant Hills, Mandaluyong, affecting more than 1,800 residents and displacing hundreds of families. The fire, which spread rapidly through tightly packed homes, consumed belongings, livelihoods, and memories in a matter of hours. Residents described scenes of chaos as flames leapt from one house to another, fueled by strong winds and the close proximity of structures. Families rushed to salvage what little they could, clothes, documents, and small keepsakes, before being forced to flee. For many, the fire meant not only the loss of shelter, but also the loss of years of hard work. One mother recounted carrying her children out barefoot, saying, "We escaped with our lives, but everything else is gone." Firefighters battled the blaze for several hours before bringing it under control. Authorities say the narrow streets and congested layout of the community made access difficult, slowing down rescue and containment efforts. Despite these challenges, responders managed to prevent the fire from spreading to nearby commercial areas. The Bureau of Fire Protection is now investigating the cause, with early reports suggesting faulty electrical wiring may have played a role. Local officials have set up evacuation centers to house displaced families, providing food, water, and temporary shelter. The city government has pledged assistance, while non-governmental organizations are mobilizing to deliver relief goods. Social workers are also on the ground, helping families cope with trauma and uncertainty. For many residents, however, the road to recovery will be long, as they face the daunting task of rebuilding from scratch. This incident underscores the vulnerability of urban communities, where overcrowding, aging infrastructure, and limited safety measures heighten the risk of such disasters. Experts warn that without stronger fire prevention programs and stricter enforcement of building codes, similar tragedies could occur again. For the families of Pleasant Hills, tonight is a night of loss, but also of resilience. As neighbors come together to support one another, the community is determined to rise from the ashes. Their story is a reminder of both the fragility and the strength of urban life in Metro Manila. In tonight's political spotlight, Vice President Sara Duterte is pushing back hard against allegations of plunder and misuse of confidential funds, calling the charges a fishing expedition and warning of political maneuvering behind the scenes. The case stems from the alleged misuse of 61.5 million in confidential funds allocated to the office of the Vice President and the Department of Education between 2022 and 2023. Civil society leaders, including prominent members of the Catholic Church, filed complaints accusing Duterte and over a dozen officials of orchestrating a system to divert and conceal public funds. Vice President Duterte has dismissed the charges as baseless, describing them as part of a broader campaign to discredit her. In a statement, she said, quote, "This is another fishing expedition, an attempt to manufacture accusations rather than uncover the truth." She warned that the process was being weaponized to create an illusion of legitimacy for political attacks. Duterte claims the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability has been conducting repeated investigations aimed at building grounds for impeachment. She alleges that lawmakers have been soliciting signatures in exchange for budget allocations, turning constitutional processes into what she calls a marketplace. Observers say the case raises questions not only about fund transparency, but also about the politicization of oversight mechanisms. Duterte's camp argues that the timing and coordination of the complaints suggest a concerted effort to undermine her leadership. Public opinion remains divided. Supporters of Duterte view the charges as politically charged and lacking substance, while critics insist that the scale of the funds involved demands full accountability. Advocacy groups are calling for independent audits and stronger safeguards around confidential allocations. As the investigation unfolds, the case is likely to test the country's institutional resilience and its ability to separate genuine oversight from political vendetta. For now, Vice President Duterte remains defiant, framing the charges as part of a larger battle over power, governance, and public trust. Tonight's economic update focuses on two key developments affecting Filipino consumers: a price ceiling directive from the Department of Agriculture and a newly approved electricity rate hike from the Energy Regulatory Commission. The Department of Agriculture has issued a directive that price increases for essential goods, such as rice, vegetables, and poultry, should not exceed 10% of their original retail cost. This move comes amid rising concerns over inflation and supply chain disruptions. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel emphasized that the goal is to protect consumers from sudden price spikes, while maintaining fair margins for vendors. In local markets, vendors are adjusting price tags and recalibrating bulk orders. Some stall owners say the ceiling helps stabilize customer flow, while others worry about thinner profits. The DA has also proposed a gradual increase in rice import tariffs from 15% back to 35% to protect local farmers and reduce dependency on foreign supply. Meanwhile, the Energy Regulatory Commission has approved a 0.0371 per kilowatt-hour rate hike effective January. This adjustment is tied to the Green Energy Auction Allowance, GEA, all, a new charge designed to support renewable energy. Developers, the fee will be collected by distribution utilities and passed on to consumers through their monthly bills. For a typical household consuming 200 kilowatt-hours per month, this translates to an additional 7.42 on their electricity bill. While modest, the increase comes at a time when families are already grappling with higher food costs and seasonal expenses. The ERC assures the public that the hike is necessary to meet sustainability targets and expand the country's renewable energy portfolio. Public reaction is mixed. Advocacy groups welcome the price ceiling as a protective measure, but call for stronger enforcement and transparency. On the energy front, consumer watchdogs urge the ERC to provide clearer breakdowns of charges and ensure that renewable investments deliver long-term savings. As 2025 unfolds, these economic shifts will test the balance between affordability and sustainability. The Department of Agriculture and the Energy Regulatory Commission are urging cooperation From vendors, utilities, and consumers alike, we'll continue tracking how these policies play out in markets and households across the country. And let's now turn to Silvania Bustros.
Good evening, this is Silvania Bustros for the Filipina Television Network. Our next story takes us to Mandaluyong City, where the legal community is reeling after a tragic incident. A certified public accountant and practicing lawyer was shot dead in broad daylight, raising urgent concerns about the safety of legal professionals in the country. The victim, whose identity is being withheld pending notification of family, was reportedly on his way to a client meeting when unidentified assailants opened fire. Witnesses say the attack was swift, with gunmen fleeing the scene on motorcycles. Authorities rushed the victim to a nearby hospital, but he was declared dead on arrival. Police are now conducting a manhunt and reviewing CCTV footage in the area to identify the suspects. The killing has sent shockwaves through the legal profession. Colleagues described the victim as a respected figure in both accounting and law, known for his integrity and dedication to clients. His death has reignited fears among lawyers, judges, and advocates who often face threats in the course of their work. Legal experts point out that this is not an isolated case. Over the past decade, several lawyers have been targeted, often in connection with sensitive cases or disputes. Advocacy groups argue that the government must do more to protect those who uphold the rule of law. The Mandaluyong City Police have vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice, emphasizing that attacks on members of the legal profession strike at the heart of democracy and public trust. The Integrated Bar of the Philippines has also issued a statement, condemning the killing and calling for stronger measures to safeguard lawyers nationwide. Analysts warn that continued violence against legal professionals undermines confidence in the justice system. If lawyers fear for their lives, they may hesitate to take on controversial cases, leaving ordinary citizens without adequate representation. For the family, friends, and colleagues of the slain lawyer, tonight is a time of grief. For the nation, it is a sobering reminder of the risks faced by those who defend rights and uphold justice. As investigations continue, the call grows louder: protect the protectors. In Batangas tonight, residents are buzzing over an unusual backyard discovery that has sparked both curiosity and concern. A rat-like creature with a long snout was spotted in a residential area, leaving locals wondering whether they had encountered a rare species or simply an unfamiliar visitor from the wild. Neighbors say the animal appeared suddenly, scurrying across a backyard before disappearing into nearby vegetation. Its elongated snout and rodent-like body immediately caught attention, prompting speculation about its origins. Some residents described it as resembling a shrew or a civet, while others insisted it looked unlike anything they had seen before. Wildlife experts caution against jumping to conclusions. They note that the Philippines is home to a wide variety of small mammals, some rarely seen in urban areas. The creature may belong to a species that typically inhabits forests, but has wandered into residential zones in search of food or shelter. Local folklore has also entered the conversation. Some residents joked that the animal could be a mythical omen, while others worried it might pose risks to pets or crops. Social media posts of the sighting quickly went viral, with netizens debating whether the creature was exotic, endangered, or simply misunderstood. Experts emphasize that unusual animal sightings often reflect broader ecological changes. As urban expansion encroaches on natural habitats, wildlife is increasingly forced into human communities. Conservationists say this underscores the need for stronger protection of local ecosystems to prevent conflict between people and animals. For the residents of Batangas, the rat-like creature remains a mysterious and unexpected reminder of the rich biodiversity that surrounds us. Whether rare species or common wanderer, its appearance has sparked conversation, curiosity, and a renewed awareness of the delicate balance between humans and nature. Tonight's update brings both a weather advisory and a consumer warning, highlighting the challenges Filipinos face from natural conditions and digital threats. According to PAGASA, the shear line air cold and warm air masses converge together with the northeast monsoon or Amihan, is expected to bring widespread rains across parts of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. These weather systems are likely to produce moderate to heavy rainfall, particularly in coastal and low-lying areas. Authorities are urging residents to prepare for possible flooding and landslides, especially in regions with saturated soil from previous rains. Fisherfolk are advised to avoid venturing into rough seas, as strong winds and turbulent waves are expected along eastern seaboards. Local governments are on alert, with disaster response teams pre-positioned in vulnerable provinces. Meanwhile, the Department of Transportation and the Land Transportation Office have issued warnings about fraudulent text messages claiming to be linked to the No Contact Apprehension Program, or NCAP. These messages often instruct recipients to click suspicious links to resolve supposed traffic violations. Officials emphasize that legitimate NCAP notices are never sent via text messages. The scam messages are designed to trick recipients into revealing personal information or making unauthorized payments. Cybersecurity experts warn that clicking these links could expose mobile devices to malware or phishing attacks. Authorities advise the public to delete suspicious texts immediately, avoid clicking embedded links, and report incidents to the National Telecommunications Commission. For weather concerns, residents are encouraged to monitor PAGASA bulletins and coordinate with local disaster offices. From storm clouds to scam alerts, vigilance remains key. Whether securing homes against heavy rains or protecting personal data from digital fraud, resilience and caution will